So it's a good title for today, huh? Yeah. Considering that the world was supposed to come to an end yesterday, we're all here alive, awake, and aware, right? Yes, I'm so glad. Sherry handed me this morning. A friend of hers sent this through the internet. And he said, the world is not ending today. It's just being rebooted. Please be sure your security software is up to date. Run a full scan of your life and remove any malicious files which may be damaging your joy, stealing your hope, or slowing down your blessings. If you need more instructions, please put your hands together, bow your head, and contact tech support.
Isn't that brilliant?
Is that great? Wow. Get goosebumps with that one. So the Dalai Lama said, I'm reading How to Be Compassionate, one of the books, many books that I'm currently reading, by the Dalai Lama, translated by someone who has done a really good job of writing this book. I think I might do a little summer series on this book. It's just so powerful. He said, no matter how long we live, at most maybe around 100 years, eventually we must die, losing this valuable human life. And this could happen at any time. No matter how much prosperity we enjoy, this life will disintegrate. No amount of wealth can buy us an extension. On the day of our death, nothing we have accumulated can help. We have to leave it all behind. In this respect, the death of a rich person is exactly the same as the death of a wild animal. So my friend Helen Street, Reverend Helen Street, who used to be at the Glendale Church, said that she'd never seen someone on their way to heaven with a U-Haul. So that visual in my head, it kind of gets me. And having just recently cleaned out my closets, I think I might have shared with you that this could be an exercise for anyone. Right now, the people who have suffered through the tornadoes in the south, there's a call out for clothing for people. So if you have a mind to do that, this would be a good place to do it. And there is a website that you can go to, which I'll find out. I don't have it in my notes this morning. But there's a website where you can go and do that. And on the heels of cleaning out my closets, which I did, I was ruthless, totally ruthless. And one of our church members will be the recipient of some of the things that still have the price tags on them. You know how that is. Anyone here ever have buyer's remorse? You get something home, and then you never take it back, but it stays in the closet with the tags on it. The rest of the clothing went to the Mary Magdalene Project in Reseda. And a couple of days ago, my friend, Reverend Jeannie Hoffman, who is a wonderful hospice worker, was with one of her patients who was roughly the same size as I am, who also did the buyer's remorse with the things with the price tags on it. I have now 3 bags of new clothes at my house that I get to sort through that belong to somebody else. So there is a law of giving and receiving, and it works in ways sometimes that we don't expect, nor sometimes do we really want. Somebody might give us something that we don't really want, and I always refer in class to that butt-ugly lamp that somebody has given you that you don't really want, but somebody else really loves it. So pay it forward. It's really all about paying it forward. And I digress. So, risking it all. What does that really mean? What does it really mean to risk it all? It means getting ready for change. It means being open to seeing life from a different perspective. And for some of us, that's a really big risk to move out of our comfort zone. Ernest Holmes said that the law of mind is not selective. It is receptive without caring what it receives. It is creative without caring what it creates. It knows how to do it without consciously knowing what it is doing. And I think when we are in a place of risk, we are in that place of really not knowing a little bit. we're on the edge of the future, but of course tomorrow never really comes. It's the todays that cause us the problem. It's what we think about in today that causes us fear in moving forward. That's why we have to be really diligent over what we think and say. Thoughts of lack manifest as limitation in our lives. Thoughts of abundance manifest as success and happiness in our lives. And sometimes we have a little bit of both on any given day. As Mary Mann Morrissey said, we think an average of 60,000 thoughts a day. Do we think 60,000 different thoughts, or do we think the same thought 60,000 times? So some of us may be in that category a little bit. When we're agonizing over something like that to that degree, it's an opportunity for us to seek out a practitioner or spiritual counseling of some kind, because there's a stall, if you will, in our movement forward. We need to go to that place on a regular basis of success and happiness. When we find ourselves in the lack and limitation consciousness, it's because we're afraid of something that might happen in the future. Success and happiness are those present moment experiences. All conditions and every circumstance, Ernest Holmes tells us, in our lives is an effect and can in no way limit the creative energy of the universe. Conditions and circumstances are not things in and of themselves, he says. They are the result of our thinking. Now, that's the good news and the bad news. If I continue to think the same way I've always thought, I'll always get what I've always got, right? But if I decide that I want to change my thinking, then I change the condition accordingly. It's my thinking that is the problem. I am not now, nor have I ever been the problem. You are not now, nor have you ever been the problem. It's our thinking that is our problem. Change our thinking about what we believe to be our circumstance, and we change the circumstance accordingly. This is really very simple metaphysics. And maybe some people might call it metaphysics light, but it really is what it is that we deal with on a daily basis. Risking it all would be to actually believe that we could have a different experience of life than we currently know. And for most of us, the question then becomes, again, like I asked last Sunday, what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? We live in the uncomfortable comfort so much of the time. We get used to the discomfort of the thoughts that we have around our own shortcomings, our own foibles, our own idiosyncrasies. And instead of allowing those to be something, say, of the past, we continue bringing them into the present moment. And I'm here to tell you that 5 years from now, I don't want to look back on today, remembering today as a pivotal moment in my life, and be thinking the same things I'm thinking today that cause me to be limited in any way, shape, or form. I want something different. And for some of us, it means really dramatic change. It does. It means leaving an unfulfilling job. It means releasing an unloving relationship, which might include friends who are energy vampires who suck the life's blood out of us. That's what it might mean. Just because we've known them for 20 years doesn't mean we have to keep them. There is a time and a place where it's really a loving thing to release somebody from our lives. It's that we do a great disservice by keeping people stuck with us in a certain way, in a certain circumstance. It also might mean leaving a toxic marriage. It might show up as physical challenges that have gone unaddressed. And it might even be educating ourselves about money in a healthier way. Many of us grew up with depression mentality parents, and so we carry over what they thought about money into our circumstance. And it's so different today than it was when our parents grew up. One of the things that became so apparent to me about that truth was when My parents in the late 80s, they lived in a mobile home. And I wanted my mom and dad to have a different experience of life. My mom always wanted to go on a cruise, and they never went. And that was one of her regrets at the end of her life. But one of the things is they had the carpet cleaned, and the guy said, "I'm not cleaning this carpet anymore. This is the rattiest carpet in the world, and it's so difficult to clean, and what you really need to do is put new carpet in." And they were afraid to spend the money to put this new carpet in. And I was the executor of my father's estate. They had $280,000 in the bank. In the bank! You know, my dad, had he invested maybe in mutual funds or something in the stock market, you know, we could have had an inheritance that would have been 10 times that amount. But my parents were afraid, because if you didn't put money in the bank, that was the only place to put it. Today, it's quite a little bit different than that. But it really is about educating ourselves in a different way. I do not want to be my parents in that respect. So there are so many things, so many different ways in which my life has changed as a result of seeing what I didn't want from them and what I do want for myself. Not to say that it was wrong for them, it was just a different mentality, different time and place. The Bible says, "Fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Little flock. How cute is that? Little flock. Fear is the greatest enemy of humankind. But even knowing this to be true, it's still a mental attitude that has to be converted into something else. And so the opposite of fear is faith. Fear, faith. Fear, faith. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's one of the laws of physics. So we get to choose fear or faith. That's really what we've come to learn in this philosophy, is that we are at choice. Faith is the reverse mental attitude of fear. Faith brings with it prosperity and abundance. Faith brings happiness and success, and a greater degree of livingness, as Ernest Holmes says. Fear blocks the givingness of spirit, as Ernest tells us over and over again. And yet we continue in the practice, and we don't allow spirit full reign in its ability to give us the good that we so greatly desire. You know, I wonder what it is for some of us, what it would take for some of us to just risk it all and let spirit have its way with us. I mean, seriously. Joel Osteen is right. God is wanting to pour its blessings upon us. And we're saying, no, I can't accept that. I can't accept that. Or, it's too much. It's too much. Does my wanting something good in my life take away the good from anyone else? Absolutely not. It does not. God is more completely expressed, as Ernest Holmes says, through the person who lives largely than through the person who lives life meagerly. Meagerly. What an interesting word, meagerly. You know, when I understand that God is the giver and the sustainer of all life expression, I am in the larger field of faith, and I can conceive of risking it all. But when I'm in that fear thing, you know, I want to hold tight. I don't want to let go. And in the same line to the monkey story that Wesley told, you know, if you held your hand open to receive someone pouring sand in it, for instance, and you left your hand open, you would welcome that sand. But the minute you close your hand up around it, guess what happens? The sand drains out. That's the same way with all things that are gifted to us. When we close ourselves off, there's constriction, there's fear in that closing ourselves off. Opening up to a greater idea of what God has in store for us, we get to understand the concept that God is all there is. God is all there is. It is substance and supply, and when I learn to accept this, all the riskiness is taken out of my giving consciousness. I can clean my closet out knowing there's going to be 3 more bags of stuff coming in. You know, I can clean out what it is that I don't need because I know that there is someone else who might be able to use it. Not from a place of need necessarily, but from a place of just that giving consciousness. I can give my time, talent, and treasure in full measure because I know it will ultimately provide me with the fullness of life that I desire. Stop limiting God. That's the bottom line today. In order to risk it all, we have to stop limiting God. God gives in the abstract and we receive in the concrete. So what does that mean? What it means to me is that first I have to have an idea. That's the abstract. Ideas are all abstract. And then God fulfills the desire by showing up as money, right relationships, health, a creative way of expressing. You cannot have an idea that remains unrealized without feeling some sense of frustration in life. You know, and there are some people who think that, well, I had the idea, you implement it. That's not how this works. The person who has the idea gets to implement it as well. And I have known people in my life who have had idea after idea after idea after idea, and they go to their death with the song of whatever it is they are longing to sing inside them. Because they never take that risk. They never step out of their current consciousness into a new consciousness. What's up with that anyway? The infinite is infinite. It has no beginning and has no end. It cannot become less than itself. And since we are of the nature of the infinite, there is some part of us that is also infinite. I am some part of the divine. And to know this with all my heart and soul, I have to risk it all. I have to say, I am doing this. Not I am deciding to do it, but I am doing it. Because deciding doesn't mean anything happens. It just means you made a decision. What you need to do then, after the decision is made, is gather people around you who are going to love you and support you in implementing the idea. Get rid of all of those people in your life that tell you you can't do something. Let them go. Let them go. Because there are a lot of us out there who would say to you, you go for it. You do whatever this is that needs to be done, or wants to be done, or longs to be done, or even yearns to be done. Every belief we've ever had about our own personal limitation has to be set aside in favor of the knowledge that life or God never withholds pleasure, peace, success, or happiness from us. There's no withholding there. I'm the one who isn't receptive to whatever it is that God wants to shower upon me. Risking it all means that love alone can overcome fear, because love surrenders itself to the object of its adoration. I love that. I love that. The soul must make a complete surrender of itself to the Spirit. That's what gets to happen first. Because it isn't really about the stuff and things, or the job, or the relationship, or anything like that. It's really about what my soul desires. The Dalai Lama said that their Tibetan Buddhist text tells of a king who gained control over the whole world, at which point he began thinking about taking over the lands of the gods. And in the end, his good qualities were destroyed by his inability to find fulfillment in himself and by his pride. Again, it's not more stuff and things that will satisfy our need for fulfillment. It is our relationship to God and to one another that provides the inherent satisfaction. It's really about me seeing God in Michael DeFebo. It's about me seeing God in Rene Gallegos. It's about me seeing God in Mary and in Larry. It's about me seeing God in Georgia. It's really about seeing God in each one of us. What? Oh, you want your names? It's about me seeing God and Donna and Lynn Marie and Sherry. There you go. I wasn't being particularly selective. I see the God in every one of you. And I most especially see the God in our teens back there. I do. You know, sometimes you ever think about being a teenager again? Ah. Knowing what we know now, though. Yes. That takes a little different twist, doesn't it? It does. Where am I? Yes. Thank you. I surrender to Spirit. I risk it all every day for my personal self-discovery. I do. Every morning when I do my prayer work, and I've enlisted some of you here in the center to pray on behalf of our center, that I know at the same time of the day that there are other people that are praying with me, worldwide even. Since Spirit is present in its entirety at all times and in all places, it follows that all of Spirit is wherever we center our attention. How are we centering our attention? Where are we centering our attention? Our work has to be done internally. There is no power in the external. There's no power in the external. Through prayer and meditation, every day Spirit guides me and directs me, and that which we can take is given to us, and not a moment before, Ernest Holmes says. I have to be prayed up every day in order for me to be receptive to what Spirit has in store for me. And if it is difficult to embrace this idea of daily prayer and meditation, you don't have to do it for 2 hours. Just try it for 15 or 20 minutes every day. This is the area in which we need to work the hardest. Not in that 9-to-5 job that we have, but in that time when we are in that space of awareness of Spirit in our lives and how it works on our behalf. When I risk it all and I surrender to the power and presence of God in my life, all else is added unto me. As I begin to think independently of any given or experienced effect, independently of anything that might have happened before me, any precedent, as Ernest Holmes says, that came before this moment in time, I know that I am thinking in Spirit. I'm not basing what's happening in that present moment on anything but the present moment. That's where that thing that we used to believe happened to us, now we understand happens through us. My desires are being fulfilled even before I've asked. Joseph Campbell said that we must believe in the invisible means of support. I love that. You know, we talk about people having no visible means of support, but what about those poor lost souls who have no invisible means of support or think they don't? Where do they go? What do they do in a time of crisis? Ernest said that we cannot account for the seen without having faith in the unseen. To believe in God is to believe in the invisible. To believe in God is to believe against all appearances that this limited life I currently experience is not the end. There's more. There's more. If I died today, I'd be a happy camper. I'm not going to do that, though. Nathan, don't worry. Don't worry, Nathan. I have no plans for that. You know, when you think about this idea of the rapture, were some of us on edge just a little bit around this? You know, who told that guy May 21st, 2011 anyway? It creates such commotion and such energy. in the same way that the turn of the millennium created such energy and emotion. So, bless you. As we risk it all and believe that there is enough, we risk it all and believe there's no limitation except our own thinking. That's where we need to go today. Risk it all and know that God is the source and substance of our supply. Know it. Know it. And know that you know it. Risk it all and believe that it is all about consciousness. Our consciousness of God is our real self, and at the same time, it is both personal and impersonal. As Ernest tells us, it is personified through us, and it is impersonal in that we are all using this universal power. When we know, he says, that we are using such a power, all doubt as to our ability to use it will vanish, and our words will be spoken with spontaneous reliance on truth. In that moment, I think, there will be a sense of divine reality for each and every one of us and the limitless potential of all life. To me, this is rapture. This is the Joseph Campbell version of rapture. When the image of thought is set, we get to realize that there is a power to create that shows up. We are fulfilling our destiny, each one of us, and our creativity when we think of ourselves as already divine and perfect, which we all are in truth, and to contemplate that divine life, which is at the very center of everyone's life. That really is the essence of risking it all, knowing with God all things are possible. Will you join me in consciousness, please? And so I know today that there is one life. That life is my life. That life is God's life, and that life is perfect right here and right now. That as I open up to this journey of self-discovery, I realize that the small self already knows who and what I am. But the capital S self is awaiting my discovery of it. There's nothing I need to know on the outside. There's nothing I need to know externally, because everything I need to know is an inside job. Everything I need to know about how my life plays out is from that internal guideline that I have that is true, that is perfect, that is absolutely right for me. As I speak this truth in the first person for all here present, I know that that guideline is unique to me, as it is unique to every one of us today. That guideline that is within me is that place I need to enlist in order to risk it all in my life, to throw caution to the wind and say no to those things that no longer serve me, and to say yes to what God really knows is the absolute truth of my being. I am whole, perfect, and complete at the level of spirit. I am God's means to be. And today I go out and I demonstrate that in my world in such an effective way that there is no doubt in the mind of anyone with whom I come in contact that I am the light of the world, that I am God's means to be, that I know that I have been placed here on this plane of consciousness to do what I need to do in order to be self-fulfilled, in order to have that absolute rapture of discovering that I am one with God. And so I know for each and every one of us today, whatever it is that you might have brought here with you, whatever pain or sorrow, whatever is not working in your life, that can be set aside in favor of pleasure and happiness and success. Because today is a new day. Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. And we can do whatever it is that we choose to do, knowing that God's in the driver's seat and I'm just along for the ride. A wonderful, joyous, loving ride.